there we go. Hey everybody, TG here. Got the audio working now, and we're up on the social medias and everything. Yeah, Eric, wash, rinse, repeat. Let's do it again. I just saw you guys 15 minutes ago. Let's go. So yeah, this morning the market was actually looking pretty strong. Let me show you this thing first, and then we'll kind of get into some other things that I'm working on that I'll show you guys. If we come over here, so we have this thing called spot gamma and GEX-spot. There are different ways of looking at the gamma strikes and the basically option stuff that are out there. And this morning before the market opened, there was a massive node. We call them nodes, but basically open interest on at 6,000 for the SPX today. And I was looking at this and I was like, wow, that looks like that should be a pretty good magnet today for where the market's going to go. We're only 20 or 30 points from 6,000, and it's a big round number. And with yesterday's move, I kind of thought, okay, well, maybe we're going to get a little bit of a nudge up there. We'll kind of get to 6,000, then we'll see what happens. So I did try to put on a put credit spread for SPX 6,000, and it just didn't seem like it was going. So we got out of it for a 20, I think it was 23, 25% loss. No big deal on something like that. And then there was another point at which it was about break even, maybe like a 50 cent win. But I'm glad that we got out of it, because you can see here, it's just not going anywhere today. So that 6,000 strike node situation for gamma, not working today, not yet at least. And so this is kind of making me think that the market might need to digest the big move that we had yesterday and see what it wants to do. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But the reason why I brought that up, and the reason why I have this video up, is because this has been getting quite a bit of attention about 0DT. So it does seem like there are quite a few of you out there who are very interested in trading 0DTE. I have been trading this for the last year. I basically taught myself how to do it. I took everything that I know about the Moxie indicator and swing trading and just applied it to day trading. And then I learned how to do it through options. And really, I think the big thing here is that I have found a way to visualize 0DT options and options in general. And so I've incorporated that into my trading. And I think a lot of people just didn't even know this thing, didn't even know how this stuff works. So I show you in this video. It's free if you guys want to check it out. And the reason I mentioned that is because yesterday I've created a second video to this that actually helps show you guys how 0DTE and my experience with 0DT helped me with a swing trade on SOXL that I made 2,060% on that trade in 30 days. I put $38,000 on it. It grew to $680,000. Most everybody in the Moxie trading room was along for the ride. And so I already have a video breakdown of that, but I said, okay, people want to know, how did I do it? And so I thought I'd make a video based on 0DT and how that helped me do this swing trade. And we're going to release that video today. So I thought you guys would want to know it. Kind of fun, kind of exciting. So look for that today and go check it out. Okay. And so today, let's see what we got happening here. What I'm looking at, and we talked about this in the Moxie room earlier today. I'll show you what I'm seeing here. I'll show you then an example on Walmart, how I feel like this might be going. I forgot who mentioned it in the Moxie room, but somebody said that the Stock Traders Almanac says that today's supposed to be bearish, but tomorrow's supposed to be bullish. Okay, that could be right, because what I'm seeing is so far since Monday pretty much confirmed, well, nearly confirmed, that the market was ready to go up. I was looking for the market to kind of pull back or flag or something like that. It looks like this is basically all the flag that we got. And we did, on Friday, the market did go down based on some more tariff or trade war type news. And then it got bought right back up. And then I was still willing to hold my hedges to the downside on Monday, which we even got another move to the downside on Monday. I'm like, great. Okay, looks like we're going to keep pulling back. Totally fine with that. My hedges are working. But then shortly after the open, you can see here that the SPX Monday morning actually turned directions and looked like it wanted to go higher. So I said, I think that the market really doesn't want to go down. I think it really is happy going sideways and just resting until it wants to go higher. So we removed all of our downside trades, any hedges, anything like that we had on the SPX, and then actually started getting back long into the market and adding to our positions. And you can see by the end of the day, the market had moved up. And this trend line is this trend line right here that you can see. So you can see trend line, trend line, trend line, and that's where it stopped on Monday. Then Tuesday, yesterday, We opened right at the same spot, and look what happened. It digested it a little bit. I think it needed to wait for some econ news that came out. I forget which one, Jolts or something like that. And then you could see once it was able to cross over that trend line, it just motored right to the top. And where'd it go? The other trend line. It went right back to the previous high from last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever date that is, and it went right there. And so I thought, okay, wow, we are within spitting distance of 6,000. Yesterday, it looked like it closed pretty nicely, kind of with a flag. And I thought, okay, we're opening up a little bit. Gamma's saying 6,000. Maybe we come up, we kind of do a little bit of this, and maybe we actually go to 6,000 today. Doesn't quite look like it wants to do that. So what I'm doing is I'm backing off from that idea for today. Could happen, but for today, I'm backing off. And I think what I'm looking at now is that I think that there's a really big gap here between price and the 15-minute 50. And I'm wondering if maybe we actually come down or sideways to meet the 15-minute 50 before we go higher to 6,000. So that's kind of my new thought as far as how this might happen. And then if we look at that and we compare that to, say, Walmart, and this is kind of the example that I've been using, notice how Walmart 2 days ago, let's see, so Monday into Tuesday, you see how Walmart was way up here, and look what it did. Had a really quick move down to the 15-minute 50 and then continued higher. So this is kind of an example of what I think that maybe the SPX is looking to do. You can see even here, quick pullback to the 15, quick pullback to the 15, and then it kept going higher. So if the SPX pulls back today, tomorrow, the next day, whatever time frame it does, let's see if it actually ends up being a buy the dip opportunity. And if that kind of helps reinvigorate the market going higher, because basically Monday and Tuesday were pretty big days to the upside. Market, I think, broke out from that trend line, looking pretty good. But today it looks tired. So it's just going to rest a little bit. Okay. Yeah, guys, Robert, Michelle, you guys are talking about the almanac. Yeah, very fascinating. I just think it is crazy that they can actually come up with a book that shows these historical things. And I don't know how often it's accurate or right, but more often than not, it seems like it is. And it is pretty darn impressive that the market can be on such a schedule like that. Yeah, so very fascinating. Okay, so for those of you who are out there on the social medias, I see you out there. We got YouTube, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I guess we added that one. So welcome to anybody who is here on LinkedIn. But I think that the market's looking pretty great overall. I think we saw that action yesterday. And for the most part, once again, I think Walmart is a really good example and a really good map, roadmap for how I think that the market's going to be looking. If you just ignore this big dip here, because that was earnings, and you can see that really for the most part, price wasn't following that. But what you can see is we've had this really big move up off of the April lows. Basically, the tariff tantrum got resolved. We had some good news about all the trade deals and all that. And you can see we had a really big move right back up into previous all-time highs or previous resistance areas. And so the market then has a couple options of what it can do. Either one, it can keep running, which that's probably not going to happen. Two, it could pull back. Okay, that could happen. Or three, it could actually just go sideways until it rests enough, digests the move, and then finds support and decides to go up. Now, Walmart kind of did a combination of pullback and then flag. But again, if you ignore the earnings situation, because again, that's earnings, SPX doesn't have earnings. But if you look, it's really just kind of done this sideways thing and then broke out to the upside. And if we look at the SPX in through here, you can see that we have had this huge turnaround off of the April lows. And, tariff tantrum, it's a bit of a mouthful, is over. Even though there's still news, there's still whatever, they're still negotiating. China's coming out there and saying, well, we didn't really agree to this, or we're going to kind of push back on this. Everyone's feathers have to be kind of fluffed up. Countries have to do their thing, and they have to look tough, and they have to look out for their own. We get it. But the news is out there to also just create news. So we have to kind of look through this and, look through whatever they're trying to say out there and just really kind of pay attention to the charts. And I think for the most part, the charts are saying the market's strong and it wants to keep going higher. But what's it going to do? It is very unlikely that the market is going to really just blow through this entire area. I mean, if you just look back here, that's a lot of price congestion to run right smack into the middle. So I think that was very reasonable that we got a pullback. We totally nailed the pullback. I didn't know how long this thing was going to go. I thought maybe it needed a little bit more of a pullback, but instead it looks like it went just sideways, and very, very similar to Walmart. You can see we've had this move up, got overbought, pulled back, and then really we just kind of went sideways, and now it looks to me like we're starting to move back up. So this is great. And if we even look closer, if we look at the moving averages, kind of look past my trend lines there, the first pullback we got was to the daily 21 EMA. Very common, very expected. Now, the other thing over the last couple of days, and this is why I got out of my hedges and anything bearish to the downside, that I was looking for a little bit of a pullback just in case the market wanted to dip further. If you look at the daily chart, all of the bodies, now the wicks did go lower, but look at the bodies. All the bodies of the candles stayed above the daily 8 EMA. That's very strong. Very strong. And then, of course, you can see over the last 2 days, we have now broken out over that downtrending channel, and we're pretty much, just barely trying to reach 6,000. I'm sure we will hit that at some point. I do think this market is going to make new all-time highs eventually. Really, the question is, what path does it take? Doesn't have to go straight up. We can have pullbacks. We can have all sorts of stuff, but I do think that this market's going to be making new all-time highs eventually. I think we're seeing things that are really, really strong. Let's see, Robert, where will you be posting your SPX trade that we're talking about? It's in the trade, it's in the alerts. So if you look up, since you're in the chat, if you look up, you can see that I put on a trade and then we got out of that trade. Small loss because the market just didn't go where it wanted to go today. Things kind of faltered and just fell flat on its face. In fact, if we look at the internals are still saying decently bullish, but the market, the SPX, just not quite going. The teaching, well, probably YouTube. I think if you're asking that, look at YouTube, Profit Pilot. As far as my channel, you can look at that. But if you want the class, we have the class available, I think simpletrading.com/Moxie, and you can go look at that. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for. We have people in the room, Mirza, Omer, who can kind of help guide you to the things that you're looking for. All right. So we got quite a few eyeballs out there on all the social medias. I see mostly we got a lot of people on X, okay, and YouTube. Great. Good to see you guys. Let me know if you have any questions or comments down there. And for the most part, I'm really happy with what we are seeing out there in the market. So, for example, I'm trying to see which, obviously Hood. I think a lot of people have been talking about this name for quite some time. And in fact, I think I just saw some headlines. Let's see if I can find this real quick. Yeah. Bank of America sees Robinhood as a prime candidate for S&P 500 inclusion this Friday. Candidate. Now, if you remember, Palantir kind of went through some of this craziness. Let me see if I can actually figure out where on the charts Palantir. Gosh, I don't know if I've memorized Palantir's moves quite enough, but Palantir was supposed to be added to the S&P 500 at one point, and then it didn't. And so Palantir at the time was very choppy. It went up kind of based on that news, and then they dropped it because it did not get added to the S&P 500 at the time. And so we just have to be careful or be aware that Hood could be a little bit in the same situation, to where the reason why Hood is so dang bullish right now, like if you look at this, it broke out from its previous all-time, like look at this, double top. It only flagged into the daily 8 because people knew about this news, because they knew that it could be added to the S&P 500. And if it is, that's going to continue to be bullish because hedge funds or firms, ETFs, they need to add it to their books. And so there's a strong buy in order to include it into their products. So that is why this thing is breaking out and doing what it's doing, is because of that news. Now, I think this is supposed to happen for Friday. So maybe Thursday you want to take care on some of these things. Be cautious, because what if this candidate, it is potentially eligible to be added? What if it isn't? What if it isn't added when they want it to be added? And so then people could sell into it because, like it didn't happen. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So make sure you guys protect yourselves. Be aware of the possibility of that. Let's see. Shush. In Hood, is there a chance? There is a chance for sell the news syndrome after the announcement. Absolutely. Yep. That's exactly what I'm saying. It could be a buy the rumor, sell the news, one of those things. Now, I do think that if it is actually included in the S&P 500, I'm not sure it's going to sell off, because I do really think that institutions do need to add it to its books. Because if you look at coin, let's see, come on, there we go, coin. If you look at coin, when it was added to the S&P 500, you could see that's what happened here, and it pretty much has stayed up, and that was a very, very big bullish move. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the buy the rumor, sell the news. I would be worried more about they weren't chosen to be included into the S&P 500, which Palantir has experienced in the past. That's the hood risk. Okay, so we got that. And Tesla is kind of over here being Tesla. I kind of liked it. Somebody was saying Tesla doing Tesla things. Yeah, we're in this, and I do think it's going to go higher eventually. But right now, I think the news was that they had some poor sales in Europe and poor sales in China. I was also kind of wondering if maybe Elon said something, political that people didn't like and all that kind of stuff. But it really just, for me, looks like a technical level. I mean, there's again, like I showed you guys on the SPX, there really is a big congestion area right here at about 350, and price just can't get past 360. I think it will get there eventually, but it just doesn't want to do it right now. And the fact that it is pulling back down to the daily 21, hey, maybe that's it. I don't have any signals yet. I thought yesterday was kind of going to be it, but then this news came out and come down a little bit. Now it seems to be stabilizing. So if it can kind of come down, stabilize, and then start to go up, I think it should be fine. I was telling the Moxie traders that when it comes to trading, if you look long term, let's just say Tesla goes to 400 or 50 sometime in the future. And what that means is that, if it's going down right now, or if we're looking at Tesla and like, oh, Tesla going down, like that's a problem. Well, it's probably only a problem based on either your position size or where you got in, or just what your trade strategy is doing. If you bought a call that expires 3 days from now and it's not working, then yeah, bad Tesla. But if you're in something, that you're expecting that, hey, as long as it just gets to 400 in 3 months from now, then you kind of don't care as much, especially if you're in from earlier. So good or bad really kind of depends on your timeline and time frame and your entry location. For us, I have a core position in TSLL all the way from, gosh, where was it? I think all the way from back. I'm trying to figure out where we got in this thing. I mean, back here, and then we did a lot of trades in through here, and then we took some off here. Now, I did start to add back in yesterday. And so, yeah, we're down on our trades here, but they're butterflies, and so they're not that bad. And I think we have enough time that if this can start to find some support and move back up, we should be okay. But big picture, I think Tesla's going up. I'm not too concerned about this particular move. In fact, a pullback to the daily 21 should be okay, as long as it can generally hold. And I'm really looking at the weekly chart, and this move off of the April lows, along with the whole market, moved so darn fast that it actually outstripped any of its support. And so we could be looking at this on a higher time frame and just say, oh, this is just a prolonged pullback to find support, and it's going to go higher eventually. So the whole good news, bad news really just kind of comes down to your particular trade location and setup and that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm trying to look through and say whether this particular trade works or not doesn't matter, because I think the overall trend is still up, and I will have to work my trades based on that kind of situation. Let's see. Hey, what else you guys try? Yeah, eyeballs. Yeah, today is very, very sideways, Albert. For sure, the market is just kind of doing that thing. Enrico, I kind of agree with you. Poor sales in China and Europe is not new news. This could be reaction. So be it. Even if it's not new news, the market's reacting to it. It's how the market likes to manipulate things and people and kind of get you out of stuff. The market doesn't want everybody to win. Okay, it likes to damage as many people as possible. And so that's when news comes out like this. Hey, it could be a buying opportunity. Kind of like what we talked about with Palantir. I don't know if there's news or whatever, but Palantir was looking fantastic yesterday. And then, surprise, we get a pretty stiff move to the downside today. It could be a stop run. It could be a liquidation break. It could be to kind of chase out the weak hands. If somebody was buying Palantir on the breakout yesterday and they're buying options that expire 2 or 3 days from today or yesterday, and then this happens. They're like, oop, I panic, and then they get out. So the market, as John Carter likes to say, is an equal opportunity dream killer. And it's a bumpy ride. And sometimes you need to be able to kind of look through the bumps and see what's the bigger picture and make sure that your trade setup is accommodating for that. So Palantir, totally fine. Totally fine with this. I don't see anything wrong with this. Tesla, okay, got to give it a little bit more room, a little bit more leeway. And you just have to be prepared and expect that some crazy things like this happen. Yeah, Learn Poker, is it an opportunity to add to TSLL, or are we expecting a better setup? Yeah, for TSLL or just Tesla, I'm going to wait a little bit because I just don't see an opportunity yet. I like to have price get over moving averages. I like to have price engage with those moving averages. And I like to see the Moxie indicator positive. And I was trying to be aggressive with the pullback that we got yesterday, because basically that did do what I wanted it to do, but it's not holding yet. So I'm going to just sit where we are and see if this can firm up and if it can get back over these moving averages, and if the Moxie indicator here on the 15 can start to look better. And then eventually, if we can get a green Moxie indicator on the hourly chart, then we can either add to it or confirm that this is going up or do something about that. But no, I don't want to keep adding until I start to get what I want. And so far, I'm just not getting it. So I will sit for now, and then we will wait to see if we get something better into the future. I'm trying to see if there's an example where, Grab. I'll show you guys this. So those of you out on the interwebs, I'm seeing those eyeballs keep growing. So we've got quite a few people there. Grab is an example of where we took a trade, it pulled back, and then it started to turn up the way that I wanted. And I put an alert out. I said, get more. I said, Grab is doing exactly what we want. I already have some. If you guys want in, this looks like a great place to get in. Now compare Grab with Tesla. So for example, I entered Grab right there, and surprise, a little bit of a move back. That's totally fine. I was more or less expecting it, or at least I accommodated for that. I said, if it moves down a little bit, I'm totally fine with that. But just like Learn Poker, you're asking me, do I want to get in? If you were asking me that here on Grab, I'd say no, because I don't have a signal to get in. But if you asked me here, I'd say, yeah, that looks good. That is what I want to see. Notice the Moxie indicator is above zero. Notice the Moxie indicator went green. Notice that price is now above uptrending moving averages. That has now confirmed. So if I can get that on Tesla or TSLL in the next day, 2 or 3, then great. I'll put out an alert and say, let's add more. Or if we want to get in, this is your second opportunity. But you can see here, that is what I was waiting for Grab. And we got it. And I put an alert out. And hopefully you guys took action on that, because now Grab is actually above my original entry. So that's fantastic. That's just an example of what we're trying to look for. So yeah, hopefully that kind of works out for you guys. Yeah, I think Grab is going to be looking great. I'm very happy with it. We took a longer term play on it. If you guys want to do something shorter term, that's going to be up to you. But I cannot ignore what this monthly and weekly time frame looks like. So any of you guys out there on the social medias, if you're looking at this, you're like, I don't understand, I don't really get it, like, what's the excitement? Then you need to come over here in the Moxie room. You need to come listen to me a little bit more, and I will start doing deep dives on this stuff for you and showing you why hopefully everybody in the Moxie room looks at this and starts salivating the way that I'm salivating. Okay, I really, until I'm proven wrong, which is always possible in the market, this looks like a killer setup on a much higher time frame. And when you get a really good setup on a monthly and a weekly, that is some power. In fact, look at the squeeze that we have setting up on that weekly chart, and just look at that. I mean, this is looking great. So whatever you guys want to do, I try to guide you into trades, and you can kind of take the details. Do you want to do a fast trade? Do you want a short trade, or a fast trade, slow trade? Do you want to be aggressive? Do you want to, how do you want to play this? Because when I'm looking at this and I help guide you into these trades, and then we go along for the ride. But yeah, I think Grab is looking fantastic. Let me move this out a little bit here too. And I think this daily chart, I'm so happy with this little pullback there, and the fact that we're up again. Whew, yeah, I think this thing's looking absolutely fantastic. So do what you will with that information, guys. And for those of you again out on the social medias, come on over. The water's warm. We're having a great time. A lot of new people in here. We're having a fun time. And I think this market's looking great. I'm very, very excited for things like this. So we'll see what Grab does for us in the future. Yeah, well, now, Eric, we don't want the water hot. We don't want to get scalded. We don't want to be like a boiling frog or anything that gets the heat raised on us. So, yeah, we don't want that. We wanted this like a nice, balmy, kind of 102 degrees. How hot do you like your hot tub? I know my dad likes it at like 104. You can spend 5 minutes in that thing. I like it at about 102. I like to actually spend some time in the hot tub. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap up there. So once again, check out, let's see, where did I close that thing? I guess I did. Check out my YouTube channel, Profit Pilot on YouTube. We are going to be dropping a new video today. It's going to be about zero DTE. It's about how zero DTE and my experiences actually helped me swing trade options. And I'm combining the two. And man, it is like a PhD in learning how to trade options and how just options move. It's been one of the greatest things that has helped me. And for anybody who has been with me for more than a year, you guys have actually been watching my learning experience and my growth as a trader from somebody who really wasn't doing much with options to now I'm actually doing quite a bit with options. And so if you saw my growth and you're interested, you can join me on my path and how I've done this and where we're going. Okay, guys? So thanks again, and I will see the rest of you next week on YouTube. And for those of you in the Moxie room, I'll be back in the chat room